Hello, and thank you for listening to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. My view of humanity is a whole new tea. This is part two or 1B of kind of my starting point of proving why, in reality, all lives don't matter and well, especially with our way of capitalism, the government, and the way we treat guns versus children's and people's lives, and prescriptions, and health care, and just the treatment of humanity, especially based off of skin complexion and religion, culture, things like that. Yeah, it's like especially when it comes to America, all lives still don't matter. I hope they matter one day, but even right after the election, they have still proven not to be. If you've been paying attention, if you've noticed that even the white supremacists have been recruiting a lot more now. Yeah, and whew, it's like, let's just say with a lot of the screenshots that I've shown you with dating nightmares. If you're brand new, make sure you check out some of the dating nightmare episodes. I show real life like messages that I get from men, and that all happened in short because I broke up with a guy after 7 years of dating. I realized the only thing he loved from me is my body and how he could take advantage of me. And so I went back to dating and I realized that, like him, a lot of men hated my education. They hated my drive. They hated my want and desires to allow my money to work for me and not just sit there or spend it all and et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and like the kids thing, like I've had so many men tell me that I should stop thinking of adopting and fostering because that's what idiots do. Yeah, I've actually had a guy tell me that's what idiots do. And he said that, like, at the beginning of my puberty life or and everything, he said I should have, as a woman, I should have realized that was my job back then. So but a lot of men have put me down for adopting and fostering. So with my dating standards, I literally created a list of all the things men hate about me, because if a guy can pass through those levels, the likelihood of him and I actually having an authentic relationship would be more, like, well, the percentage would be a lot higher. And but the consequences of that, I have witnessed so much bigotry and hatred, and like being called a slave and the N word repeatedly, being called the R word and the B word, the C word, the P word. I like it's really, it just shows how and why we ended up with the elect that we've gotten, because a lot of people out here are kind of sharing the same level of thought of humanity, thought of difference, especially when it comes to political difference. I used to, like, even in my profile, I used to say that I can be friends with if you are not Democrat, liberal, or progressive, but we're not going to date. And it's like, since my lines are limited, I have to shorten it, or I was trying to word it the best I can. But so many men are like, politics don't matter. But especially after the election, it's really funny how a lot of these men tell me how stupid I am, how politics don't matter, and how a woman should date her opposite. And um, I forgot which, or I don't know their names or whatever, but there's one example that I show in a few episodes where this guy, like, a few guys have told me, but there's an African American guy specifically with dreads, and he tells me, like, you can go to church every Sunday, he could stay at home, and you guys could still be together, you guys could still be in a relationship. And a lot of men have told me, you guys can be opposites and still be together. Like, Majority of these men are Republican men, and majority of these men like the power. And one reason why they speak to me the way, like, they need power from somewhere, and if they control me and control me, then it's like they feel better. And if they can try to smash, like, even like with some guys, when I share them my children's books that you'll see at the conclusion, and that I'm writing my novel, I'm finishing, I promise I'm finishing it. You do not know how many what men have told me, if I publish it, then I better never talk to them. They don't want to waste their time with me. So when it comes to humanity, when it comes to equality, it's like a lot of men don't treat women of any worth, but then they want us, but they want to treat us like we're worthless. They want us, but they don't want us to live to our potential. They want us, but they don't want us to use our brains. They only want us because of our bodies, and to cook for them, and to be submissive to them. It's like the only use that we are to them is the use that they want to control us. And so when it comes to all lives matter, we have a long ways to go. And it's like when we can treat a school shooting the same way as we can treat like Luigi in his situation. And it's like when we can treat the billionaire who allowed thousands of people a year to pass away because they're being denied like their health care insurance that they paid for. Because I tell my story because I'm one of the people who, for years and years, my like I've told in a few stories, but in different aspects and points of view or ways, how many doctors refused me. And then when it came to the healthcare, trying to pay for it, so it's like, because I wasn't diagnosed until my mid 30s, until I could not walk anymore. Literally, I had to have surgery to be able to walk again, and I still have to walk with a walker, and now I have to use a scooter because I was born with a disability. So disability lives in so many ways don't matter, and I will dive into that too in another episode. But in this episode, I kind of just went at it and just the things at the top of my head. But when it comes to disability and the food and like children, and like when it comes to adoption and the school shootings and things like that, there's so many areas for kids and daycare and things like that for women and people of color. It's like they want to lie and say all lives matter, but they only do that because they don't want to admit the nightmare that some of us live. And some of them live in such a privilege that they don't realize what's going on around them. But then when people tell them about their situations, they want to give an excuse. Because if you've been listening to my episodes, you will know about how when I told my ex's mother about one of the times that a police officer followed me 15 to 20 minutes until I was in the driveway at my house, opened the garage. Then he turned on his lights and had me out. It's like I was so emotional and everything. But I'm telling her my story, and she had the nerve to tell me, "Well, you're so beautiful. He needs to find a reason to pull you over." And I've had at least a couple like white women try to tell me that, and I'm just like, okay, one, you sound stupid, and now like you're just showing you're bigoted, because like, okay, that's not professional, that police officer should lose their job. Okay. And I tell that story, like I said, I don't know which episode, but it probably has police in the title and everything. If I find it, I'll put it in the messages below if I ever, yeah. But anyways, enjoy. It like, well, not enjoy, because I know my topics aren't all like, I'm gonna try to do happier, like especially with the Reddits and everything like that. But I guess I feel like I need to pour out more of my heart and soul. It's like I don't create the trend, I create to tell the truth. I create to spill my tea and to show the world around me. And yeah, so I'm not the popular girl, but I'd rather be truthful and honest than chase something just to trend. But yeah, you already know. My YouTube channel is as messy as my life. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. When are we going to make sure all lives are going to start mattering? And it's like we have record-breaking school shootings. I think we're number one in school shootings. Yeah, number one in guns. Yes, like I see a pattern with what we're number one in. Number like part of me wonders, are we number one with how many people have passed away because of health insurance issues, and how many people filed for bankruptcy because they're trying to stay alive, while Congress is trying to lift the age to get retirement? But we are the only developed country that does not have Medicare for all. And you need to research why we don't have Medicare for all, because it's a racist reason. Yeah, I've done a lot of research on it, which I need to do another episode on it, but I've been trying to start all of the organizing for one of the cold cases that, like, I want to get that ready for Patreon. But anyway, we have a long ways to go, because when you look at mass shootings and school shootings, we're number one. And then even with Luigi and him eliminating a billionaire, oh, that sparked outrage. But like CEOs, instead of like, okay, well, we see why he did this, maybe we need to sit down and figure, no, none of that, none of that. And then they're mad that some people have empathy and see him as a hero. But then they want to talk about, like, because this is another point with All Lives Mattering, because you're going to mark him as a terrorist? Really? Really? But remember that mass shooting that happened at, like, during COVID? I think it was, yeah, late. I think it was late COVID, but it was this racist, bigoted guy who went to, I think it was a Dollar General, Dollar Tree. It was like a store, but it was a predominantly black area. And on purpose, he eliminated around 8 or 9 black people. And like in his notebooks, like, oh, full racist. But they denied him. Like, they were like, no, that's not terrorism. Really? Really? But then you wonder why some people don't feel safe in this country. But then you always so say all lives matter while you're trying to ban books when it comes to learning African American history, like Native American history, and people of color, and the things that we face in life, because you say it hurts white kids' feelings. So instead of them learning history, you want them to repeat it. You want them to not care. You want a lot of them to say it wasn't that bad, get over it. Because if they don't learn it, they don't know it. And if they don't know it, they don't have a problem with redoing it. Because how would you have a problem if you don't know the end result, if you don't know how it happened, if you don't know the cause? Hmm. But then they want to say all lives matter when it's like with our food, they say that, well, now I'm thinking, like, even with the like, back to the food, because I know I talked about the ingredients and everything like that, but it's like you have all of like Whole Foods and a lot of like, you have grocery store deserts. And there are people who want to start up small businesses. It's like, okay, for those who want to start a small business, and for some who, if you guys can come together, maybe start a grocery store, maybe in the inner city, or and maybe like if you guys can figure out a way with security and cameras and things like that, because there are some people who want more fruits and vegetables and want things that are less manufactured. But when you have a lot more access to the corner stores, and especially if you don't have transportation and there's lack, or even public transportation is another means with all, like, all lives matter, because you have some who can't afford a vehicle. You have some with disabilities who are not able to drive. But if they were able to get like the public transportation and it was good public transportation, maybe that could even get them to a job back and forth independently. Some people might say just get a Lyft, get an Uber. Okay, do you know how much that costs? And doing that 5 days a week, especially if it's only part time, you're basically going to be just spending all of your part time money on Ubers and Lyfts. So it's to the point where why get a job in that? Okay, it's like, oh, childcare. If all lives matter, we would make sure that it's like, and if you want more kids, because, okay, oh, if all lives matter, then Elon Musk mom would know she needed to just shut her mouth that other day because when you have a kid, that means you need to be able to feed and clothe and shelter that child. And she even said, "Oh, even if you can't afford it, hold on, wait, like, but then you're gonna risk being homeless." And oh, okay, I'm gonna be all yeah, this is gonna be really messy because one thing keeps reminding me of another, which keeps reminding me of another. Because there was a woman who just got a ticket for being homeless, but she was in the middle of delivering her baby, not in the middle, but her water was breaking. But the police officer didn't believe her. She was literally leaking in front of him, but he didn't believe her. But she had a baby later that day. He ticketed her. And then he accused her of having attitude, but she was in labor. A part of me was just like, okay, um, it doesn't even matter if you have a girlfriend, wife, or whatever who's been in labor, but ask a female who has had children. It's like, because she didn't have an attitude, or within the state she was in, she was calm to me. I'm like, huh, if I was in labor, no, I'd be telling you, okay, so if you're gonna get the ambulance, get the ambulance. If you're not, you're not. It's like, can you leave me? Like, I am trying to have a baby. It's like, I am trying to stay stable. I am trying to stay like, just, I would have been to like livid because yeah, he went back to his police car and wrote her a ticket. And it's like, if I was a cop, like, no, like, I get, maybe it's because I'm a female, I don't know. But I would have been like, okay, let's get you. It's like, maybe that's why I would never be a cop, because I would have been like, let me go, like, if there's a store or a corner store, let's get you some ice chips. Okay. Let's get like a blanket to go over you, because like while we wait and stuff, because it's like you're in like, she's in a parking garage. Okay. It's like, I'm like, okay, if you're gonna have a baby, I want to make sure that this baby is healthy. If you're healthy, the baby will hopefully be healthy. Let's make sure you're good. So that's what I would have done. But I guess her life didn't matter enough. And it's like, I'll probably do another episode about this later, but it's just like, if you guys have more proof, more evidence, provide it. Because I can go on, because I just feel like it's so pathetic and disgusting. And when it comes to money, like, to a lot of people, your life matters depending on how much money you have or make, or with how able bodied you are. And even going back to, oh, that Musk woman, she's just telling you to have more kids, even if you can't afford it, but you need to get them daycare. But she's probably thinking, oh, the woman can stay at home. But it's like, a lot of these men out here, especially, like, I just heard like from a psychologist or a therapist and everything, and a lot of them are bringing up how we were bringing up women to be leaders and to learn that they can live their dreams and stuff like that, but we never taught our sons how to react or how to work with and how to love and be compassionate towards those women. And that is exactly right. It's like, I feel like a lot of men don't care about me. They hate me because of how hard I have worked, because I wanted to be the best woman I wanted to be. But a lot of these men want me to stay in the kitchen. A lot of these men want me to be just a good, submissive little Christian girl. Like, no, no. Especially over the last 10 years, I have learned so much about myself and how much that I I've learned why I never fit in with my family. I never have. I never did. But then I was trying to date and marry a guy just to make, like, well, first to prove my mother wrong, but at the same time to fit into the Christian household, like, frame of everything. And I'm like, that's not me. That is not me. And it was to the point where I was so scared to lose a guy because my walking was getting worse. But we have a lot of women out here now who are either single with kids, single without kids, single trying to have their own or start their own business or dominate with their careers and jobs. And it's to a point where even with politics, we kept hearing that only women who have babies matter. I wanted babies, I wanted kids, but I was trying to, be that good Christian girl and wait until I was married to have the kids. But then, and some of the men that I dated, oh my gosh, I told you some, and I just mentioned about the guy who, he only asked me out because he wanted me to buy food because he couldn't afford it. And I mentioned how, I'm going to mention this a whole lot more because a lot of people judge me over my dating standards. My dating standards are everything that men hate about me. But if a man is everything on that list, that means he at least probably won't hate me. And all of the screenshots is proof of them hating me. Especially the Republican MAGA 45 loving men. Ooh, they hate that I'm not a Republican. And but then some of them say, what does politics have to do with it? Yeah, I won't. It's like, I know I talk about that a lot, and I'm gonna have a lot more to talk about it, so I won't go back into it. But when you vote down childcare, affordable childcare for all, but then you have a woman, a billionaire's mom, telling us that we're supposed to have more kids even if we can't afford it. But think about that. Think really hard about that. Why is she so concerned about that? And then unions. It's like certain businesses, excuse me, they don't want us to unionize. But why? Why? When one business has more than two people pass away at their business, at their shipping locations or at their building locations, but then when people are mourning or people are like trying to like either get help or whatever, they're told they better get back to work before they're written up and stuff like that. But all lives matter, right? Right? And then I don't know, it's just to a point where I wonder when we are going to actually be all lives matter, because we are our country's about to do a mass deportation, and other countries are denied. They're like, nope, don't bring them here. Don't bring them here. don't do this, don't do that, to the point where some of these people have no idea where they're going to be going. And I know some people are like, don't stress about it, don't worry about it until it comes. Whew, whew, whew. I'm not in that situation, but I understand why they're stressing out. Because if you don't even know when it's coming, they say the first day, but when you don't know when it's coming and you don't know where you're going to be sent to, I kind of think of my ancestors and the fear, because kind of like with slavery, they didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know when or where they were going or what was going to happen. So that's why I have empathy, because it's kind of the same but different. Literally going to be yanking these people out of the country into a country that some of them don't even know. Will they even know the language? Will they, like, what about shelter? Are they going to be homeless? What's going to happen? What is going to happen? But all lives matter, right? And to the point where they're going to even deport American citizens or the children, even though they are American citizens. But all lives matter, right? And I'd even discuss and talk about how, oh yeah, it's like, oh, there's so many cases too that's happened. But last year at an AMC, there was a pastor who got escorted out of a theater because, like, he brought his own chair. And he did it because with his disability, he can't sit in the theater chairs. He can't. And so even with disability laws, with disability rights and things like that, yeah, they say all lives matter, but they don't. They want to they're taking DEI out of businesses. They jumped and did it. It's because some of these companies, they don't care about us. And so that's why my money's not going to care about them. My money's not going to go to them. And that's why it's like I try to do as much research as I can before I buy things. Because why am I going to reward bigotry? Why am I going to reward hatred? And this is all in my opinion. Again, in my opinion. But when you take DEI out of it, and I am a woman who's a person of color, who has a disability, oh, I am DEI. I am. I have to fight every day. Like, jobs have denied me. And or I get to job interviews and people are like, I would have never imagined you. Oh, you don't sound like how you look. And we all know what that means. We all know what that means. I have so many other, like, oh yeah, I've said them all in the episodes. So just listen to my episodes. I have all the proof right there. But yeah, I've got to end this one.